diode, the solid state diode, and the transistor. The transistor is made up of two words. Up until recently, there was no such word as the word transistor. It's made up of two words. And the two words are transfer what do you think the other word is? Resistor. Okay, so these scientists were working away on finding new properties with this solid state technology of N-type material, P-type material, and they put something together and they came up with a new device. And they said, what shall we call it? So they decided to call it transistor, because it transfers, it appeared like it transferred resistance from one side to the other. So they decided to call it a transistor. These are the three guys who invented it: Walter, Bratton, William Shockley, John Bardeen, back in the late 40s, 1949 or so. And in 1956, they received the Nobel Prize for inventing this device called the transistor. And people were scratching their head. They said, what is this thing, you know, that acts like an amplifier and acts like a switch? So anyway, it slowly replaced all the electronic circuits before the 1950s that were made from vacuum tubes, and that really miniaturized the size of all the electronic circuits. Radios were big in size. I remember my father had this big radio, and you would put a station on, and it would drift, and then you would bring it back, and so all tube technology, but then it was slowly replaced by transistor circuits on a board. And then in 1959, down at Texas Instruments Labs in Dallas, they came up with an integrated circuit. And an integrated circuit is what you have inside the AND gate chip and the OR gate chip and the NOT gate chip. That's an integrated circuit. What it means is that it's made up of a lot of transistors and resistors and capacitors all etched onto a silicon wafer. And that was 1959. And then you move on to 1971, and then what they did was they were able to pack thousands and thousands, and nowadays it's millions of transistors all in a microprocessor, which has the brains as well as the RAM, and the calculation power of an integrated circuit. Okay, so that's a little background on the transistor. So, if you didn't pick up the handout, come and get it. Okay, it's on the transistors, number 10. Two ways transistors are used in electronic circuits. The first way is in amplifier circuits. So what we see in figure 1 is a small signal, such as a radio signal, such as a voice signal, TV, radio, any of those signals. You want to enlarge it, you want to amplify it. So you build an amplifier circuit out of transistors. So that's one way of using transistors, to amplify a small signal and make it into a large one. The second way, and the more popular way these days, is to use a transistor as an electronic on-off switch. which means that it will either act like a closed switch or it will act like an open switch. So we see a little box here that represents the transistor. If the transistor acts as an open switch, then you can see that the output voltage is 5 volts, and if it acts like a closed switch, then the output is tied to ground, and you have 0 volts. So that is how transistors are used. For example, in a microprocessor, you've got all these transistors, and they will act like zeros and ones. 0 for an open switch, and 1 for a closed switch. So 2 ways transistors are used, either as an amplifier or as a solid state switch, on-off switch. Okay, 2 families of transistors. The first family is called bipolar junction transistors, or BJTs for short. The second family is field effect transistors, or FETs for short. This semester, we'll be working with bipolar junction transistors, the BJT type of transistor. And next semester, you will learn more about the field effect transistors. Okay? So 2 types of transistors. Whether it is a BJT type of a transistor or an FET type of a transistor, all transistors have 3 terminals. So now let's go to page 2. I'm just following the notes that you have in front of you. All transistors have 3 terminals. So, in the case of the BJT transistors, which we will be working this semester, the 3 terminals are called the emitter, the base, and the collector. The other type of transistors, the FETs, they will call their 3 terminals something else. The gate, the source, and the drain. Okay? But we'll worry about that next semester. This semester, emitter, base, and collector. Those are the 3 terminals of a transistor. So, the type of transistor we have in our kit looks something like this. And if you look at it, you have a curved surface and a flat surface. The flat surface is where you will read the information about the part number of that transistor. And if you're looking at the transistor and the flat surface, then you have terminals 1, 2, and 3, and they are in that order. And it's good if you can memorize which one is which.